first, I want to welcome everyone to the event today. We have a great panel here for you to learn a lot about student life in the School of Economics and Management. First, my name is Audrey Savage, and I work in the International Marketing and Recruitment team as an International Communications Officer. So I'll be moderating the panel today, and we have a great group of students here with us. Before they introduce themselves, I want to give a few little housekeeping notes. If you have any questions, feel free. I can see someone's already found it there at the bottom in the Q&A. Someone says, hello, welcome to the event. Glad to have you. So you can use the Q&A to ask any questions you have to our panel. You can also use the little thumbs up icon to upvote your question. So if you see that somebody has already asked the same question that you have, feel free to just give it a little thumbs up, and that will push it up to the top of the list to make sure that we can try and get it answered. And I also want to point out that because we are here today with just students, we are going to not be answering any application related questions, as we want to reserve our time to make sure that we get to hear as much as possible about these students' experiences and what it's like actually studying their programs at Lund. So if you have questions about applications, please hold those. We have a lot of other events coming up. In fact, in 2 weeks, we have our virtual application week, which will have 20 different events, at all of which you'll have the option to learn about how to apply, the application steps, ask questions about that. So please refer to the link that I've put in the chat where you can register for upcoming events to talk more about applications. But today we want to hear more from our students. So to get us going, I want to go ahead and have everyone introduce themselves. So I suppose we'll just go around. If you'd like to share who you are, what you study, where you're from, and anything else you'd like to say. We can start with Sara.
Yeah, hi everyone, super nice to see all of you here, and I'm Sara from Sri Lanka. I study Innovation and Global Sustainable Development Master. It's a 2-year master at Lund School of Economics and Management, LUSEM, and I look forward to answer any questions. Do you want to go next, Johanna?
Yes, hi everyone, I'm Johanna, I'm from Peru. And I'm studying a master's in international marketing and brand management. It's a 1-year master, and it's really nice to be with you today. So if you have any questions, just let us know. Maybe Esthefany?
Thank you. My name is Esthefany. I am from Guatemala, and currently I'm studying the Master of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. That is a 1-year program, or maybe to be more specific, 10 months program. So it's really quickly. And any question that you have, I'm here. So Damla.
Hi, my name is Damla. I'm from Turkey, and I study the Bachelor's in the International Business Program, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions.
Great. Halyna.
Hi, my name is Halyna. I'm from Ukraine, and I study a master's program managing people, knowledge, and change, and will be also glad to answer all your questions.
Great. And Philippa.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Philippa from Uganda, and I'm studying, I think, the newest course at LUSEM, Master's in Data Analytics and Business Economics. Yeah, very excited to have you here.
Great, thanks everyone. You almost don't even need me. You can just pass it around to each other yourselves. So to start us off, I would love to know what is your favorite thing about studying your program and the thing that you think really shines about your program. Perhaps we'll go the other way around this time and start with Philippa.
Okay, so just quickly, I think because as I said, my program is new, so we are the first cohort to do it this year. It's been exciting for us to learn alongside the teachers. So it's really just picking learnings, of course, with the program content that they had created, but then also speaking to them on how they can make the program better for the next cohort coming up. I think the one applying this year. So it's just exciting overall in our perspective and also their perspective. Yeah, just making sure the program will work for the future as well. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's always exciting, being the first cohort coming through. Sorry. Halyna, how about you in managing people, knowledge, and change?
Yeah, so firstly, I really like that the program combines different areas, like it's not just HRM or change management, that it crosses a lot of areas and gives you this multidimensional outlook. Also, I really like the atmosphere in our group and also overall atmosphere at the School of Economics and Management, and how it feels like a really great learning environment. And I also come after about 6 or 7 years of experience. So for me, it was important that the program would give me an opportunity to kind of sum up my experience, reflect upon it, but also give me some strategic insights. And I feel that so far the program has been just great for it. And I would really recommend it.
Wonderful, thank you. How about Johanna?
Yes, I think I really like the fact that the program is divided in 2 tracks. So you can be interested in marketing, but maybe you're more on the consumption side or maybe in the corporate side. So you can choose any track. And then you also have electives. So it's really fun that we're a lot of people from different parts of the world, but we're not always together. We're taking different classes and then we get together again for another course. I think that dynamic is very nice, and it lets you to work with different people and know their mindsets and all of that. So that's one of my favorite things.
Wonderful. Esthefany?
What I love about the program is that every week is really different. Like 1 week we have guest lectures, but we also have projects to deliver, group projects, or also individual things. So every day is like a journey. I feel like it's kind of like that. And additionally, I think that is really international. So that was something that I really expected. I love to network with people. I love to be in contact with different cultures. So this master program allows me to do that. So that's what I love.
Wonderful. Sara?
Yeah, so one of the things that I loved was actually being in innovation and sustainability. There's a lot of theory and new knowledge covered in the master, and also like real opportunity to engage in innovation. There's so much support to work with projects, to work with startups, and Sweden is really known for innovation. So this has been quite surprising to me how much help is offered to work with innovation, essentially. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Damla, you're studying one of our only 2 bachelor's programs within the business area. So what's your favorite thing about that?
I really like that my program is very multidisciplinary. We have courses in economic history, economics and business, obviously, and then statistics, information systems. So it's a very broad area, and we get to have the knowledge of all these different areas and get to use them also. So that's really nice.
Great. And something that I think a few of you touched upon is how international the programs are. At Lund in general, we have students from over 130 countries, but I'm really curious about kind of what the size and the breakdown is of your program. So how many students are in your courses, and what would you say is kind of the breakdown between Swedish versus international students, as well as the gender breakdown? I think just from the luck of the draw, we have a whole panel of women here today, but of course we have a lot of men who also study within our business programs. So what would you say is sort of the international, Swedish, and gender breakdown of your programs? Perhaps we'll start again with Damla.
Yeah, for my program, it's actually 50-50. There is 50% of Swedes and then 50% international students. And then the same goes for the gender breakdown. I would say it's about half-half.
Great. And is it a large program? Are you about how many?
We're about 80 people.
Okay.
So it's not that large. It's actually one of the smaller bachelors in the faculty.
Great. And Halyna, how about managing people, knowledge, and change?
So our class is around 60 people, and the majority is female. So that's how in our group, and the group is super international. We have some people from Sweden, but also a lot of people from Germany and Netherlands. And then there are also representatives from a lot of countries like France, India, Indonesia, Pakistan. So it's huge variety of different nationalities represented. And it's really interesting to learn about different cultures.
Great. Philippa, what about with data analytics being the first cohort? I imagine this will probably change a bit as it goes, but what's your breakdown looking like this year?
So for this year, we have around a third of Swedish students, and then the other 2/3 are international, but then with a large proportion of the international students being from Europe as well. So I'd say a third Swedes, and then a third Europeans, and then a third from America, and then Africa. I think Africa we had 2. Something like that. Yeah, but then the program size, we started off as 53, I believe, in September, but right now we have 45. So, but I hope, yeah, I think we'll keep at the 40 level. Yeah, we're around 45 students right now.
Great.
Yeah.
And Johanna, I know your program is one of the most popular programs in all of Sweden, actually. So I'm guessing it's on the larger side, but what's it looking like there?
Yes, it is actually one of the most popular programs. And we have 120 people in total, but we are divided in 2 tracks. So you only take classes 60 and 60. But actually, when it comes to electives, you can either have 80 and 40 or a new mix. So that's what we're experiencing right now. And when it comes to internationals, definitely we have over, I would dare to say, over 25 or 30 countries in the whole class. And the proportion with Swedish people is maybe 30% Swedish and 70% internationals. We actually have a lot of internationals, yes.
Okay, great. And Esthefany, Sara, is your experience kind of similar? Are you on the larger side or the smaller side? Maybe Esthefany, we'll start with you. Just being mindful of our time.
Yes, I have the numbers because it's in the webpage and they keep repeating. So we are 66 students right now. It's the first year where female are more than men. We are 55% female, and we have 25 nationalities. So it is truly international. I think we have from all over the world, practically.
That's great. Sara, I think you're on the smaller end for the business programs, at least, if I'm correct.
Yes. So I know there has been close to 1,000 applicants, but they select between 20 to 25 students. So it's a bit of a competitive program. And I'm the only one from Global South, but we have a lot of European nationalities and some Americans as well. But it's a wonderful program. Yeah.
Great. And something else that I'd like to touch on a little bit just before we move into our questions from our audience is something that also I think, Halyna, you mentioned earlier about sort of the dynamics within the department, within the faculty and things. How is that as far as relationships with the professors and kind of with each other? How would you describe that? I guess this one I'll let anyone talk about, and then we'll see if anyone has any different feelings. Anyone who would like to jump in?
I can go if it's okay.
Yeah.
What's different about Sweden compared to a lot of other countries, and I've studied in the United States and Canada before, so it was really new to me that here it's really informal relationships with your professors. You call them by their first name, and you can always talk to them. You don't really need to make an appointment after class. You can just go and they will help you. And that's something that I was very pleasantly surprised about.
Definitely. I'm seeing a lot of nods there. So I'm guessing that's the case for pretty much all of your programs. That's something that Sweden really prides itself on, is that informality in the classroom. So that's great. And the business school itself is located on I guess it would be, let's see, the eastern side of Lund, but has quite a lot of new facilities with the new library and innovation center and everything. So do you find that now that we're back in classes on campus that you're using a lot of the facilities and things that you have offered there? Perhaps Sara, I'm seeing some nods there, if you'd like to share.
Yes, I'm actually so proud that we have a 24/7 open facility called the Learning Hub, and it even has showers in it. So you can literally live there, but don't. And yeah, I think the facilities are incredible, and they really want to help out. But for me, I think the academic standards have been really high. My bachelor's is from New York, and a little bit less help in terms of like tutoring or something like that. You're really supposed to take your program very seriously and go to the library, use facilities and study. Yeah.
Great. And we have a question here in the audience about the networking opportunities at the university, if there are any career fairs or things like that. So does anyone have any experience with networking opportunities within the faculty? Damla, you're unmuted straight away.
When you say career fair, it's a close topic to my heart. Yes, the school has its own career fairs, and then the student union at Lund Ekonomerna, they have their own career fair. It's actually one of the largest career fairs for business students in the entire Nordics. So yeah, I would say there are a lot of opportunities, both by the school, by the student union. There's always a lunch lecture or a seminar going around with different company representatives, mingles. So there are a lot of things that are happening in that area.
Definitely. And I would even add there as well that the university as a whole has its own career office, but the School of Economics and Business has a separate career office specific to business careers. So there's definitely a lot of support there. Esthefany?
Also, I want to add how Sweden helps you to do networking, because personally, I really love to go to events about entrepreneurship. And I think I always see Sara there. Now we are friends from events, and so you can go and meet people. They're really open to talk to you, to talk about your business idea if you have one, and also just to grab a cup of coffee one day, because fika is really important here.
Absolutely. You can't come to Sweden and not learn immediately about fika, which is, I like to equate it to sort of like a Spanish siesta. It's a specific part of the day where you kind of take a break and enjoy a cup of coffee and a pastry with friends, colleagues, really anyone. That's great. I'd also like to talk to you guys a little bit about, in addition to networking opportunities, the opportunities for practical experience that you get within the program. So has anyone been involved in things like internships within your program or different research, things like that? I know perhaps for some of the one-year programs, the time is a little more limited for that. But Sara, I think you've been involved in a few things, if I'm correct.
Yes, so I've been doing an internship for the past year, and there's also opportunity to do a credit-bearing internship towards the end of the program, which is going to be soon in January for me. But I volunteered at Skåne Startups, and I was helping as the lead of Women in Entrepreneurship program. And now I work as the innovation analyst at Malmö Stad, which is the Malmö municipality, and working very close to my master's. Yeah.
That's great. Does anyone else have any experiences with doing kind of internships or other practical experiences on the side?
Yes. So I'm not doing any internship. My program is 1 year, but we actually are having experiences working directly with companies within the courses. For example, I'm taking a course on sustainability, and one of our assignments is actually choose a company and having to work with them to develop a kind of like a case analysis. We have the companies coming over and doing presentations at school, and then we get to choose which one do we want to work with. So it's really interesting, and it's very case related, and you work hand in hand with them. So it's an amazing first-hand experience.
Oh, that sounds great. I have a question here from the audience as well that I'd like to ask about if it's possible to play around with the courses, taking a module from a different course or enrolling in perhaps electives. So if they're enrolling in finance, for example, taking a course in data analytics. So just in general in your programs, what's the kind of option for flexibility? Do you have, I think it probably, I would imagine, is a little more options for those of you in 2-year programs. In a 1-year program, it's quite strict, if that's the case. Seeing some nods there from our 1-year students. But what options do you have? Maybe Damla and Sara and Philippa, yours is a 1-year or 2-year program?
It's 1 year.
Yeah.
But then I believe we're going to have electives for the term starting off in January,
Okay.
and we'll be able to have a mix. I don't know, it won't be with finance per se, but it's with the informatics department, which I know is also under LUCEM, but it's not really business and economics. So I know we can take a course from informatics, but I don't know for everyone else. Yeah.
Great. Damla, what about in the bachelor's? Is there options for electives?
Yeah, so for our 5th semester, it's a 6-semester program, but for our 5th semester, we get the option to take electives. You either take electives or do an internship or go on exchange. Currently, I'm taking electives, so that's where we get to do that.
Okay, great. And I would just add as well that for most of the programs that allow electives, you can usually switch between departments as long as you're qualified for the course. So for example, if you want to take a course in economics and there's a requirement that you have a knowledge for, statistics or something, you need to make sure that you kind of qualify for the course in the same way that everyone else does. But usually those are options. Great. A lot of questions coming in here now, which is really great to see. Let's see. We have a great question here about what are the benefits of studying at Lund University over other universities in Sweden. So, of course, all of our students here are studying at Lund, so they can't necessarily say what it would be like to study at other universities, but perhaps you could share why you chose Lund or why you chose this program and what you've been enjoying most about Lund in particular. Perhaps we'll start with Esthefany.
I really took a deep look to the program before applying. And also I consider other countries, but for sure I chose Lund because first the program was really practical. I thought that it has like an overview of the entrepreneurial mindset. So I will have the opportunity to practice entrepreneurship and also do some networking in a place that is really famous because of innovation, right? Here, Spotify was invented here. Also the invisible helmet when you bike, you can have like a helmet that when you fall, it pops out, right? And protects you. So I took a deep look for those innovative ideas. And also the business school has a triple accreditation that just 1% of the business school all over the world has it. So that's what I chose Lund.
Definitely some great reasons there. Halyna, what about you? How did you choose Lund and Sweden in general?
So I was looking for programs that would be connected to learning and development in companies. And I've researched a lot actually. And also as I had some experience, I was looking for something that would be not just basic, but something that would be providing a strategic outlook. And when I discovered the program, and I really loved its structure and the courses and the descriptions, I also researched some information I could find on lecturers and the teachers, and I found their research areas to be like very exciting, at times actually even provoking. And also, as Esthefany said, I used to work in business school before, and I remember the process we undergone the process of accreditation. So I realized that there is a triple crown in Lund University School of Economics and Management. The school is really doing a lot of internal work, which results in providing good quality education. And I also heard amazing things about Sweden, and I really like the atmosphere, that it's friendly, that it's also not like education here is challenging, but it's not like super stressful, and you still get a lot of like work-life balance, and people emphasize the fika and exploring around. So I found that it would be a great place to study and also to live.
Wonderful, thank you. So we have a question here for Johanna, specifically about the International Marketing Program. That is about how you find the program. Is it easy to kind of take everything in a one-year program? They're also asking if there's a PhD degree for the same program. So I'll just briefly say to everyone who's interested in PhDs, it doesn't really work that way in Sweden. There's not a particular program for PhDs, but PhDs are actually a job you apply for in Sweden. So it's basically up to each department whether they have an opening for a PhD student that year. But for the rest of it, Johanna, how would you find how the program's going and kind of the intensity level of doing a one-year program?
Yes, so I think the program is very nice. Actually, as I was telling you guys, we have 2 tracks, so the courses are very different. My track is number 2, which is innovation and consumer trends. So it's focused more on consumption. And basically, in each track, you're taking 2 courses per study period. So it can get busy, but it's not like you're dead. I mean, you need to do the basic work of doing the readings and maybe getting your group meetings and all of that, but you definitely have space to have a life. It's not going to kill you or anything. I like the fact that the teachers are really interested in doing very participating class. They ask you many things to participate in class. They are really into group work as well, and it's a great opportunity to actually get to know others, people from other countries' mindset, because not everyone thinks like you, especially in an international environment such as the class. So it's really rich, such a good experience, and you get time. You can balance studies and life.
Great, and that actually ties in really well to our next question about how much group work you're having, and this is kind of more general to everyone versus lecture time. So what is sort of the breakdown of your classes? Are you in classes all day, every day, or just a few classes a week? And is most of your work individual or group work? Maybe we can start with Philippa.
So I think we have 1 lecture a week for each of the subjects you're doing in that term. So because our year is 1 year, so we have a fast-paced program, should I say. Every term we have 3 subjects, 3 different subjects you're doing, with 1 heavily credited one. So let's say 7.5 credits, and then 2 others which are kind of easy, okay, like a lighter load, so that we can manage the work-life balance. So we get to have 1 lecture of the advanced subject, let me say, every week. So one week, 1 lecture, but then we have review questions from that. And then we have a lab assignment, which is just doing practical work in a programming language. So we mainly use R. And then we do the lecture online, and then we do group work as well for the assignment. And then we do the review questions as a group with a teacher every week before they release a new lecture as well. Yeah, and then the other 2 courses, we have them once in a while. So we haven't had 1 yet this week, but with those ones we're doing in person at campus as well. Yeah.
Definitely. So definitely not all day, every day in class, but more managing your own
not,
time.
Yeah, and not individual. Actually, I think all our subjects this term between November and December, all of them have group work in them. Yeah. So.
Okay. Would everyone else say that's pretty much the case for your programs as well? Maybe a couple lectures a week and a decent amount of time where you're dedicating to your individual work and group work? Seem to nods. And Damla, just to touch in as well, how does that differ, or is it the same for the bachelor's level? Because I know you have a bit of a different structure.
Yeah, it's rather similar, except in the bachelor's level, we kind of have more lectures. I would say like 2 or 3 lectures at least a week. But yeah, most of the time it's actually dedicated to group work, I would say.
Great. And now let's see some other questions that we have here. Someone else asking about group work, so that's great. We just answered that. Anna's also asking about taking lectures online. We have transitioned back to normal classes now as of November 1st. Is anyone still having any lectures online or no? Yes, Dom was having some. Everyone else?
Yeah, I have.
And
I have some. Yeah, because we have like a really difficult. Okay, it's not difficult, but it's like heavy duty course, and then so the class felt it was better to have pre-recorded videos because then they can refer back to them in terms of revision and stuff. But yeah, so we do, but that one is still half, so half online. So we do the whole lecture online, and then we meet as a group and do the assignment, and then we also do the review of the lecture with the teacher in class. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say by the time everyone who's listening today would get to Lund next autumn, hopefully classes will be pretty much all in person. You never know, sort of the classroom of the future. There may be some options in some programs, as Philippa said, where if the students feel it's better to have some online lectures, that might be a thing. But normally, most classes are all done in person rather than having the option to do it online if the rest of the lecture is in person. We have a question for Sara about how you're able to combine your schoolwork with volunteering and working on the side.
It's, to be honest, it's very hard. So I'm one of those people who don't have much work-life balance. I'm always doing something, but I think that's how I like to spend my time. I like to be involved, and I think it's fantastic because the opportunities that you have as a student is really, really incredible. So I like being busy. Yeah.
Great. Let's see, we have someone who's planning to live in Copenhagen and travel by train every day. Does anyone know anyone who's doing this? I know I've met some students in the past that do it, though it is, of course, a bit more challenging since you are adding that extra commute. And you also need to make sure that you have the residence permits that allow you to do this. I see a few nods, so I'm guessing some of you know people that do this.
I have a classmate that is from Denmark and Copenhagen. And right now for her it's really easy because we are in a hybrid mode. So she comes with maybe 2 times a week, but it's kind of it's not difficult, but she needs to have the time to come here like earlier and book like a train ticket or maybe a monthly pass. She told me something about that. So it's possible, but you need to really figure it out and have your time really planned.
Definitely. Though I would add on to this, even if you're not planning to live in Denmark, Copenhagen is around a 35 to 40-minute train ride away from Lund. So it is also really popular for students to just travel there on the weekends and visit and things. So in that way, you can kind of get a little bit of the experience of both countries at once.
May I chime in for this?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I had a friend who lived in Copenhagen when I first started my bachelor's, and everything was physical at the time. And for schoolwork, it wasn't hard for her, but since she lived in Copenhagen, she got to miss out on the student life part of Lund, which kind of takes place after the school time. And so she missed out on a lot of the stuff. Like it is possible, but maybe not the best like situation if you want to experience Lund as a whole.
That's true as well. There are always a lot of things happening in Lund that you want to make sure you can take part in. I have a question here for Esthefany about the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. Two-parter here. One, do you have time for a part-time job next to your studies? Or I guess if you aren't having a part-time job, do you think you would have time for one if you had? And what's the theory to practice ratio of your program?
I need to be honest, the program is really intense. We have just 10 months to study. So it's not even a year. So you need to consider like your studies will be like a full-time job because we start the classes around 9 and we finish sometimes 4:30 or sometimes at 5. And also we have group projects, we have individual projects, and we need to start our own business idea, our business like with a group. So we have like 3 things: lectures, start our business project, and also homework. So it's really intense, but so from my point of view, you need to be really careful with your time. And if you plan to work, maybe maybe in January, that you are just working in your thesis and in your entrepreneurial project. Because right now that we are having classes, that is from August to December, I think it's not really possible. And the practical thing, yeah, we practice entrepreneurship all day with challenges, exploring your business idea, and during the lectures. So it's really, I could say 80% practical.
Great. And I would just add in there that our kind of general advice towards part-time jobs at the university is also that it's quite difficult to find them generally, as there are a lot more students than there are jobs. And typically kind of normal part-time jobs for students, like working in a cafe or something, usually require you to know Swedish as well. So you're at a bit of a disadvantage behind the Swedish students. It is possible there are students who, of course, do part-time jobs, but as Esthefany said, you also have to think about the fact that you are here to study first. And generally speaking, even if you are to find a part-time job, it is probably not going to allow you enough time to work to cover your full living expenses here. So it's always something you should consider as a bonus if you're able to find a part-time job, but not something you should come to Lund expecting to find a job that will cover your full expenses here, because that's not very realistic, I would say. The next question is for Halyna, asking, how would you describe your program? This student is trying to decide between managing people, knowledge, and change and the master's in management, and is wondering if it provides more practical experience or more of a theoretical analysis perspective.
Great question. And I realize that the choice is not easy, because actually both programs are really great. And a friend of mine actually took the management program, so we kind of comparing a lot. And I feel that the management program is more intense in terms of the classwork. So she has more activities in the class, whereas in my program, there is a lot of reading and group works. I would say that the program is more conceptual. There is still a lot of practical stuff, like even pretty much every lecture would have some practical examples. And we also have a lot of lectures with practitioners. However, there is still a lot of stuff that's more on a conceptual level.
Great. I have a great comment here from Misty, who's saying she appreciates being able to witness the darkness through Esthefany's window. Went from sunny to nighttime in 30 minutes. So yes, that is something to definitely prepare for when you're coming to Sweden, is the winter darkness for sure. We have a upvoted question here about, for those of you in a one-year program, how challenging is it to manage student life without a person number? So for those who aren't aware, if you're coming to Sweden for more than a year, for a 2-year or more program, you have the option to register with the Swedish government, basically, and get what's called a person number, which can make things like getting a bank account or other things a lot easier. But for those of you, if you're coming on a 1 year, unfortunately, you aren't eligible for that. So you do have to be a little more careful about things like banking and signing up for things. So what has your experience been like with that? Maybe Johanna, we'll start with you.
Yes. Okay. So that's a subject that I actually did a lot of research on, because I wanted to know what were my options when it came to being a one-year student. And of course, yeah, you cannot have a personal number. I actually managed to open a bank account with a bank that doesn't require you to have a personal number, but of course is a limited bank account. But on that from, I mean, nowadays it helps me with the things that I need to do. Additional to that, there are more and more digital banks like Revolut, for example, like neobanks. I'm also using those for online payments and many things. So that was quite useful. And you can also use the credit card back from your country, maybe for the first days when you're here. That's what I did. But then I tried to get the bank account and the Revolut account and everything very fast, because I didn't want to be using my card like from my country because of the exchange rates and all that. So you have options. I mean, not having a personal number, it's not like a life debt situation. You can find your way around. And even when Swedish is pretty cashless, you can still find some grocery places that take cash, for example. So you can get by.
Definitely. I know a lot of students in particular use the Revolut that you mentioned, Johanna, to kind of have a bank account that works around that. Philippa?
Yeah, in my case, in my first week when I went to open a bank account, I went to Nordea. Okay, I went to many, but then Nordea seemed one of the best. So they just asked me to get a coordination number because I was working on the principle I'd only be here for 1 year. So when I got a coordination number, which is kind of like a person number for people only here for 1 year, they managed to open for me a bank account, and then which was actually slightly better than the bank accounts that SEB was offering students, because they didn't need a coordination number, person number. So with a coordination number, Nordea managed to get me a Visa card, which will be slightly better than the Maestro card that SEB was offering as well. Yeah, so I think, at first it's like a culture shock when you come in, and then they're like, oh, you don't have a passport number, so you're not going to get the benefits and stuff like that. But then after taking like a deep breath and going to Skatsavet, and then they gave me a coordination number. So then, so I feel now like it will work out even though I don't have a person number, because it works in the same way as a person number. It's just a different number. Yeah.
Definitely. And for those in the audience, if you, after the event, want to go to the link that I posted about chatting with students, there's also a blog there. And we actually have a few students from one-year programs who have written blogs as well with all of their tips on how they kind of went through the process of not having a personal number and what they recommended. So that's a great resource there as well. Philippa, we'll stay with you. So we have a question about data analytics and business economics, about how much coding you have to do throughout the program and which coding languages do you study?
Okay. Well, okay. So like I said, we have 3 subjects in every, so they broke it down. Okay, so because it's 1 year, 60 credit course. So they broke it down into 15 credits every term. So each term has 3 subjects, and then one of them is really advanced, and then the other 2 were a slightly less credit, so 3.5 and 4 credits each. So in the first term, we did a fast track learning of R. So we did programming in R, and we had to do that for 1 month, only 1 month, and we had to finish everything. And then the reason it was really taught to us quickly was then the basis of our program, which is machine learning, because it's kind of statistical learning. Okay, it's very technical, but all the practical stuff is based in R. So we do every week from the first week of September, the first week we started studying in September, we've been doing a lecture, and then we do an assignment for machine learning, and that assignment is in our program. So I would say we use our language a lot. So we use it every week actually. So there's a bit heavy coding, but not really heavy. So as long as you know, you understand how to do it, I think it will be really, really, it's really code heavy. And then also the different courses we do in addition to that also use different languages. So I think right now we're doing a course with databases, and we are using SQL. And then we did data visualization as well, which was just using R to draw, visualizing like graphs and stuff like that. So we are using a lot of languages. And I think right now Link, which is a finance like group in the finance department, they're offering Python, so we can study Python for free. So most of the students are also doing that as well. Yeah, so we do a lot of coding. Yeah.
Great, thanks. I have a great question here that's both for Johanna and Halyna. The student has studied marketing in their bachelor's and is working on an HR in marketing, and is interested in both of your programs, managing people knowledge and change and international marketing, and is wondering what kind of person would you recommend your program to? Someone who's more creative, more strategic, more analytical, someone who wants to work in insert field here. Maybe Johanna, we'll start with you because I mentioned you mentioned you might need to duck out a little early. So just in case you have to go soon.
Okay, yes. For example, my background is I studied communication science as my bachelor's, and I worked in marketing for a couple of years, and now I'm doing the master's in marketing. And many of my fellow study mates, they have done economics, they have done administration, they have done business. I mean, the background is very wide, mostly related, marketing, economics, business, administration, some communications also. But I would say that if you're interested in strategy, of course, in maybe corporate things, then definitely this will be a good program for you. If you are more interested in the creativity part, then maybe not that much, because it's actually very focused on business and campaigns and innovation, especially innovation and depending on the track, of course. But both of the tracks are, one is more corporate, the other one is more about understanding consumption, but both have a foundation in business. Not really creativity or advertising stuff related, more about business.
Great. And Halyna, what about you for your program?
So from my point of view, if we have a module on strategic HRM currently. So for those who are eager to work in like employer branding or communications, I think it's a great program. I think it's good for diverse types of people. It does not matter if you are creative or analytical, you'll be just able to either strengthen your skills or gain new ones. However, I think that like in terms of employer branding, this is a perfect program. And I think this is also a great program for those who want to understand better how organizations work, as mostly our context is within the organization. So if that's something you're targeting at, then it's a great program. However, if it's more like something inter-organizational, then maybe the international marketing would be more interesting.
Great, thank you for sharing.
I have to leave, guys, but thank you for the time, and I hope you all get the answers that you're looking for.
Thanks so much for joining, Johanna. I can see we have a couple questions in the chat that are more about the application process. So again, unfortunately, we're not going to answer those today as we just have students here. So they're not really the best people to ask as far as what's the best way to get into the program or things. I see we have someone that's very insistent wanting to ask Sara about your statement of purpose and CV and what made you stand out. But unfortunately, the application pool changes completely every year. So I would say the number one tip is really just being as honest about your experiences and yourself as possible. There isn't really a number one tip to stand out. It's really about the other applicants and yourself. But the student is also asking, though, why you decided, Sara, to study innovation and global sustainable development. So perhaps you can answer that part at least.
Definitely, and I agree with Audrey, like every applicant is different, so do your best and good luck. And why I chose to study it is because I'm really, really interested in sustainability, and Sweden is like a forefront country in sustainability, so I really wanted to learn. And it's a subject very close to my heart, so that's why I chose this.
Great. We have a question also about housing, taking us away a little bit from programs and more about life in Sweden, about how easy it was to find housing. Of course, for those of you who don't know, if you're coming from a non-EU country with a non-EU citizenship, there is guaranteed housing through LU accommodation. However, if you're coming from an EU country, you do need to find housing on your own, though there are a lot of different agencies that help with that. Would anyone like to share their experience? I'm guessing for those of you who are from non-EU countries, did you use the housing guarantee? I guess we can just do nods. Esthefany did, Halyna did, Sara didn't. Would you like to share then your experience?
Yes, because when I came, there was the pandemic and I couldn't come on time. So I had to refuse my LU accommodation offer because I was not sure if I was able to going to be here. And when I came, I stayed, there's a guest house that's with Lucen and right next to Sparta. So they offer student rates for a limited time. So I stayed there for a bit. And then I navigated my way through Facebook marketplace and private leasing. I mean, there are so many, but also very, very important to mention that there are so many ways this could go wrong. But there's a lot of information about that, like it's a whole big topic, I guess. But yeah, it is possible. It's hard, but possible. So LU accommodation guarantee is the best option.
Definitely. And Damla, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was admitted late to the university, so I wasn't eligible for the housing guarantee. But one really easy way to find housing is nations. Like they have housing that are available. And then you can also do the lottery for the AF Bostäder, which is like this organization that has student housing. Like I, for example, lived at Smålands Nation for the past 2 years, and I'm going to move to an apartment at AF in a month. So like, it's not impossible. I know people make it sound so tough to find housing, but if you start looking early, you'll definitely find something.
Absolutely. And that's our biggest tips as well, that if you don't have the housing guarantee or if you're admitted late, just start looking as soon as you can. The people who run into problems and are sometimes not able to find housing are usually people who don't start looking until a few weeks or just a month before they arrive. So try your best to start looking as soon as you can. Esthefany?
Just to add, I can say something about my perspective from Lund accommodation. I felt really guided since the beginning. I applied on time and I got my second option because you need to rank your 5 top options of the places you want. And I got my second option and I'm really, really happy with it. It's like in the center of Lund. It's really far from the university. Also, when my friends go out, it's really far from all of the places. And I think the price is really good, really affordable for a student. So from my point of view, it's the best option too.
Great. And since we're running out of time here, I want to have time to let everyone kind of give a last word on your programs. So I'm going to give a rapid fire round answer to a few of the last questions we have here. There's someone wondering about the master's in economics and if it's preparing them for PhD studies. Unfortunately, we don't have someone here today from economics, but I would say that pretty much all of the programs at Lund, if you want to go on to do a PhD afterwards, you usually can, but they're also all preparing you for a career in the working world as well. So that's really up to you. Can undergraduate students who are in their last year apply for a master's? Yes, please join our other events to learn more about how to do that. Someone who wants to take music classes in Malmö, I'm guessing that's in addition to your business program. Again, I would refer you to what we talked about with electives. It depends a little bit on if you're eligible and also if it relates probably. I think if you want to do something very different, usually you have to run that by your program coordinator to make sure that's okay. Someone who's wondering if any of our panelists are married and if they handle study pressure differently because of being married. I don't think anyone here is married, but I would say generally we have a lot of married students. I don't think it really affects too much their study pressure. However, regarding the accommodation, you do need to both be admitted to studies in order to be eligible as a couple for the housing guarantee. Can you switch courses once you're here? Usually not. You usually need to apply again. And someone who wants the link to virtual application week. So I just posted the links again that I mentioned to everyone in the beginning. So I think that's pretty much most of our questions here. So I would like in the last few minutes that we have to hear from everybody again with if you could give any final tips or advice to students who are considering your program, or if there's anything that we haven't mentioned in this event so far about your program that you think is really important to highlight, what would you share? So perhaps we'll start with Esthefany.
I will say that if you really want to practice entrepreneurship and live the life of an entrepreneur, choose this program because it's really practical and you will get all the tools to enhance your idea.
Great. Damla, how about international business?
Yeah, if you want to have a multidisciplinary approach to business on an international level, definitely choose this program. But I also want to talk about student life a bit, like very briefly. Like Lund has an amazing student life that you can do everything, and like even if it's career oriented or social oriented. So when you come here, get involved in something, a union, a nation, or association. You will get so much out of it. You won't regret it.
Definitely some great advice. Sara?
I would say regarding the program, there's a lot of economic history courses that was quite a shock to me, but they're really good. So be prepared for that if you apply to my program. And there's 2 theses, not 1, 2. So, and these are super important projects. So be ready for that, have an idea, talk to people, network. Networking is so important. So I definitely agree with Damla.
Great. Philippa?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we do a lot of coding. I think our first term is full coding, and then second term right now we're doing like 2/3 coding. And I know that will scare people away, but then the good thing, we get to work in groups, and even the teachers encouraged us to do group work, to do all our individual work together. And then that's when we created the groups this term because of how we were doing it last time. So even though, because it's really a practical course, so it's really analytical. So we're just trying to learn how we're going to become analysts of, because an analyst, you can work in any, should I say, any field. So you can be in business, you can be in banking, you can be a consultant. So it's really just getting you ready for being an analyst out there. So it's really practical, should I say. We do a lot of coding and stuff like that. But overall, it's a really good course. We've had fun managing our time, as Damla said. So work-life balance, we've managed to do that. And then, yeah, just come to Lund. I think you'll have fun. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Halyna, we'll wrap up with you.
Yeah, so this program is for those who want to go in depth into managing people, knowledge, and change, understand their organizations, and become reflective practitioners. So if you want to have a great program and also a great time during your master's program, then Lund is the top choice. And I wish you good luck with the applications.
Wonderful. I want to say a big thank you to all of our panelists today. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience. It's always great for me and for our audience to learn a lot more about your programs. Thank you to the audience as well, who've given us a lot of fantastic questions today. I know we might not have been able to get to quite everything, so I also want to, again, in our last moment here, draw your attention to the links I've put in the chat. So of course, in that first link, you can actually read more about all the different programs. If there was a program here today represented that you didn't know about, you can learn more there. Most of our panelists are also student ambassadors who you can actually chat with at any time. So that second link, if you have a question that we weren't able to get to, or you think of something later, you can usually find them there and have a chat. We also have around, I want to say 10 other of the business programs represented with students there. So if there was a program you're interested in that we didn't have someone here from today, take a look and see if there's someone you can chat with there. Of course, if you have any application questions, as we weren't able to answer those so much today, you can always reach out to our office at the third link and attend any of our upcoming events at the fourth link. So as I mentioned, we have Virtual Application Week very soon, which will have in the week 4 different how to apply specific events, as well as events from all the program staff. So you could talk to some of the staff of our business programs, talk to some alumni, quite a lot of different things there. So take a look, and we hope to see you at a future event. And with that, I'm going to wrap us up. So thank you so much again to everyone. Thank you to our panel, our audience, and we hope to see you soon in Lund. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.